Hi, welcome back. Our previous lesson was on other demand elasticities such as income elasticity and cross price elasticity. Today, we'll be moving on to price elasticity of supply. Now, price elasticity of supply measures how responsive quantity supplied is to price changes, or you can say how responsive sellers are to changes in the price of the good that they sell. Specifically, price elasticity of supply measures by what percentage the quantity supplied will increase following a 1% price change. To calculate price elasticity, the formula is percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. We can use the midpoint formula for this calculation. Now let's look at a simple example for the market of apples. Well, P1 here is simply the old price or the previous price. P2 here is simply the current or the new price. Q1 is the old quantity supplied or the quantity supplied at the old price. And Q2 is the current quantity supplied or the quantity supplied at the new price. First of all, let's calculate the percentage change in quantity supplied. So when price increased from 2 to 3, quantity supplied increased from 80 to 100 apples. So the percentage change in quantity supplied is therefore Q2 is 100 minus Q1, which is 80, divided by Q1, which is 80, plus Q2, which is 100, divided by 2 times 100. This gives us 20 over 90 times 100, which is approximately 22%. Then let's calculate percentage change in price. P2 is 3 minus P1, which is 2, divided by P1, which is 2, plus P2, which is 3, divided by 2 times 100. This gives us 1 divided by 2.5 times 100, which gives us approximately 40%. Now we can use this information to calculate our price elasticity of supply. The percentage change in quantity supplied is 22%. Percentage change in price is 40%. This gives us an approximate value of 0.6. Now you can see the price elasticity of supply is positive, and this simply shows the relationship between price and quantity supplied as illustrated by the law of supply. So what higher prices induces higher quantity supplied, and lower prices induce lower quantity supplied. That is why the price elasticity of supply is positive. Now to interpret price elasticity of supply, we can either have elastic or inelastic supply. When the price elasticity of supply is elastic, it means that quantity supplied is relatively more responsive to a change in price. So for instance, if you calculate price elasticity of supply for an elastic supply, you're going to have something like maybe 60% divided by 40%, which will give you a price elasticity of supply as 1.5. This is bigger than 1. This simply means that any change in price will induce a bigger change in quantity supplied. So if price increases by a certain margin, producers are going to increase quantity supplied by a much bigger margin. Now on the other side is inelastic supply. When you calculate price elasticity of supply, and it's less than 1, then the supply is inelastic. This means that quantity supply is relatively unresponsive to price change. So when you calculate this, you have something like 40% divided by 60%, which will give you approximately 0.7. This is less than 1. What this simply means is if price increases by a certain margin, producers are going to increase supply, but it will be less than the increase in price. Now that we know how to interpret the price elasticity of supply, let's look at how the curves will look like. Generally, elastic supply curves are flatter than inelastic supply curves. So if we draw two curves, elastic supply curve will look something like this. So this will be our elastic supply curve, and our inelastic supply curve will be much steeper. So this is inelastic supply curve. Now, assuming that price is P1 and quantity supplied is Q1. If price were to increase to P2, let's first consider how this will affect our inelastic supply curve. Quantity demand will increase to Q2. Now consider the same increase in price, but now trace it to your elastic curve. You realize that quantity demand now increases to, say, Q3. So the same increase in price will induce a smaller change in quantity supplied if the supply curve is inelastic. However, it will induce a much larger change in quantity supplied if the supply curve is elastic. So an inelastic supply curve is much steeper than an elastic supply curve, and it shows that any change in price will be will induce a smaller change in quantity supplied than an elastic curve. Now let's look at two extreme cases: perfectly inelastic supply and perfectly elastic supply. Perfectly inelastic supply simply means that a percentage change in quantity supplied is 0 for any percentage change in price. In this case, no matter the change in price, quantity supplied remains the same. So when you draw your supply curve, you have a vertical supply curve. So if price were 2, quantity supplied is, say, 100, and price increased to 3, quantity supplied remains the same. If price increased to 4, quantity supplied remains the same. So no matter the change in price, quantity supplied is unchanged. So when you calculate your price elasticity of supply, you have it being equal to 0. Now the next case is perfectly elastic supply. It means percentage change in quantity supplied is infinite for any percentage change in price. Quantity supplied is very sensitive to changes in price, such that any least change in price will lead to an infinite change in quantity supplied. If price were to increase, quantity supplied will increase by an infinite margin. And if price were to decrease, quantity supplied will also decrease by an infinite margin. The curve for perfectly inelastic is a horizontal curve. So we have a horizontal supply curve. And this is showing that a change in price leads to an infinite change in quantity supplied. So this is all that we have for our lesson on price elasticity of supplied. Our next lesson will be on determinant of price elasticity of supply. If you enjoyed today's lesson, consider subscribing. Thank you.